guys, so for about a year now I've been working on a book which is all about fitness and training. I would say it's a manual of sorts. So the training manual has an exercise library. It has extensive knowledge of programming, and programming is basically how you make your own workout like plan, and then how you can change that like on the fly, how you want to change it depending on what your goals are. So it has all that knowledge, and it has 18 sample plans included and more. So if you're interested, leave a comment below. You as a man have no competition, like at all, like whatsoever. You have no competition. I mean this in regards to women. Like you as a man in the 21st century, in 2022 or 2023, when this video will be posted, you have no competition whatsoever. If you define a man as someone who's 18 and above, let's just say that it's between age ranges of 18 and 30. The men in that age range right now, the men that we're speaking about, they're weak. I'm not sure how many of them I would even call men. At least from 18 to probably 24, I'll still call them boys. Maybe from 24 to 30. Maybe those people can be considered more to be men. Because males in this generation are weak because society tells us that we should not do certain things. We should not be masculine. We should not be men, basically. We should not compete. We should not strive to be better. We should not help other people because we're toxic. Because that's toxic masculinity. We're weak because of this. And society tells you this, but in reality, like, no one wants you if you're weak. Nobody really wants you. Maybe except for your mother. Because your mothers will always want you. Your mothers will always love you. That's not true for everyone else. That's not true for everyone else who's not family. Men will rise up to the standards that we need to. Whether that be standards given by society as like a general whole, or by women. Like, the standards right now to get sex is basically be at the right place at the right time. Be in a nightclub at like 3 a.m. and then you're basically good to go. Like the standards have fallen. Like before, to get sex, you need to marry a girl. Like you need to ask her father for her hand. And that's so much more difficult. That's incomparably more difficult than just standing in a nightclub, maybe dancing a little bit. Before, men to marry a girl, a woman, they needed to achieve status, achieve wealth in some way, achieve something. But now it doesn't matter, basically. It really does not matter, at least in the Western culture. Even for people who don't engage in casual sex. The people I know, a lot of them, are weak. They're still children, essentially. They're still boys. I mean, to be fair, boys will mature later than girls. Alright? That's a fact. It's scientifically proven. But that doesn't excuse the ones who have reached brain maturity. It doesn't excuse that. Men are so weak in this generation. And it's not even the fault of the men themselves. Or rather, it is partially the fault of men. Because society pushes you in one way. But you don't need to be pushed along. You can resist. You can go against the flow. So I don't fully blame men for this. But it's still our responsibility. It's still our responsibility that we fell. It's still our responsibility. Personally, at the moment, I am pretty overconfident. I must say, I'm pretty overconfident in my chances of finding a mate. Mate, instead of woman. Because what I've been doing is, I'm playing the game life. I'm competing in this game to the best of my abilities, while others are competing in other things. Video games. I always come back to video games. Because video games, it's a virtual way to compete, essentially. you compete in the video game instead of competing in life. Or you compete in both, but the video game will always be more appealing. It will be more satisfying. I say all this because you could also have no competition. Because it is not that hard. It is not that hard to build yourself up. I've done it in a year or two. Just one or 2 years. That's all you need to really build yourself up. Sure, you might take longer. Okay, that's fine. But you can still do it. You can have no competition by just doing a few things in 1 or 2 years. Reading, going to the gym, sleeping. That's a big one. That's a really big one. Working on something. Whether that be school, personal project, something. Having a purpose. That one's really big. Like having a purpose, that is hard. But if you can find it, if you can learn what it is, man, you will be racing. You'll be driving instead of walking. There are so many habits that will elevate you. Right? Like going to the gym. That's only gonna make you better. Reading. That's pretty much only gonna make you better. These are all things and ways to challenge you. Because you need challenge to become better. Why are people so weak right now? Because they don't take up challenge anymore. People do not take up challenge. People live in comfort. They get their dopamine hit from social media, from porn, from video games. They get their sense of camaraderie from video games. They get their sexual satisfaction from porn. Things that we want are being satisfied virtually. They're not being satisfied in the real life. They're just being satisfied with virtual things. Things that, sure, they satisfy us. But to what extent? Like, does watching porn really provide meaning to you? I mean, maybe you don't even care about meaning, but don't you at least want to touch a woman? Like, sure, you can watch porn. You can see all of her intimate details. But can you touch her? Can you see her? Not on a screen, but with your own 2 eyes. Can you experience her? In this generation, you have no competition. And therefore you have no excuse, really. No excuse except for, I'm just going with society. And the thing is, society is most of the time wrong. Society is almost always wrong. The things you hear on the news channels, the things that you hear from other people. Because really, what you hear from other people is just passed down from others above them. It's mostly all wrong. What you hear for the general public is 70-90% wrong. Society tells you being a man is bad. And you accept that. I'm here to tell you that being a man is the greatest thing you can have.